The last time we spoke was ahead of Indian Wells, where we felt like Carlos Alcaraz was probably the favorite there with that Jannik Sinner. Jack Draper went on to win that title. I thought, okay, Alcaraz made the semis, turn around, he's going to, get right in Florida, in Miami. Instead, a shocking 3-set loss to veteran David Goffin, who is someone who's been a former top 10 player in the past. But I think everybody is kind of raising their eyebrows and wondering what's going on with Carlitos. It's been a poor 2025.
Yeah, everybody's raising their eyebrows but me. I feel so
Really?
solid on this guy. Yeah, I don't know why I have this unwavering belief in the kid, because probably he's still only 21 years old. And
Yeah.
look at what he's accomplished. I mean, I was just checking his Grand Slam stats over the years, the few years that he's been a pro tennis player, and he's made the quarterfinals or better at 10 of the 16 slams he's played in his career, which is insane, that he's only played 4 years worth of slams and he's made it that deep at 10 of them. Admittedly, this year is probably not as strong as he would like so far. But, let's give David Goffin a little bit of credit as well. The guy's been around forever. He's a former top 10 player. He was a mainstay in the top 10 for a while.
Yep.
And you think of someone like him and even Gael Monfils, who at the age of, 38, 39, is still having some really good results. You can never count out these veterans. If they're feeling physically fit on any given day, they can still push guys in the top 40 of the sport, or in this case, the top 10 of the sport. So it's a blip for sure, but you also look at semifinals in Indian Wells, not too shabby. He won Rotterdam, which was only, about a month ago.
Yeah.
And, we go a little bit past that, but only 8 months removed from another Wimbledon title. So I feel like it's not time to hit the panic button just yet. His post-match press conference, he didn't sound like someone who was freaking out about the loss or unsure about what was happening with his game. So I think he just keeps plugging along. And look, as we're about to transition to clay in a few weeks' time, who's a bigger favorite right now on clay than Alcaraz?
Yeah, look, you're completely right. I think as we shift over to the clay, for me, that's his best surface. Grass, we just don't get that full grass court season. So maybe he's going to be the favorite, I think, at Wimbledon, guaranteed, and has been the dominant grass force of the past couple of years with 2 Wimbledon titles. But having a little extra time on the ball, that super heavy forehand that he hits on the clay and the way he moves, I just wonder tactically, like he's had some of these matches at least through 2025 and then 2024, that early loss at the US Open to Van de Zandschulp, not really playing that great in the fall. If sometimes he struggles to win matches when he's not playing very well, and that's something maybe the big three did so exceptionally well through their careers, finding ways to get wins when they're off their game. I do think Carlos is better in the best of 5 format, though.
Mm,
One of these matches where like he's struggling against Goffin, if he had that 3 of 5 cushion, you kind of feel like he would
more
maybe,
time.
yeah, exactly. He would maybe figure it out. But his forehand was really sporadic in this match. He's not winning as many points off his first serve. I think the first serve points percentage was around 65, which is, you look when he's winning, it's up around 80 plus. So, look, 4 losses on the season. Goffin is probably the most surprising one of all. Losses to Draper, Djokovic, maybe not as big a deal. And then the one loss to Lehechka. I think he's going to be excited to change surfaces, to be honest.
Yeah, for sure. Fresh start, and on a surface where he's kicked butt before. I mean, one other point to make, I think, is at the age of 21, with all the fame and the celebrity and the success that he's had in such a short amount of time, that's a lot to deal with at that age, too. And we
Yep.
kind of assume that these athletes are just, robots that go tournament to tournament and just, break the rackets out, and they're ready to smoke whoever's on the other side of the net. But there's the human element to it, too. And how does the pressure affect you? How does the fame affect you? I mean, this guy's going places. He's treated like an absolute rock star in the sport, and everyone handles that just a little bit differently as well. Someone like an Andre Agassi loved to have the spotlight on him, and someone like Pete Sampras, early in his career especially, found that a little bit uncomfortable. So I think you're also bound to have some of these dips. Look at some of our young players here in Canada who haven't achieved, quite nearly as much as what he has, but even Felix Auger-Aliassime, who seems as level-headed as you can get, you're still going to feel the pressure when you go into these big moments and big tournaments, and you're not necessarily always going to be able to perform as best as you'd like to.
Yeah, very, very good point. I'll just mention, I recall Milos Raonic talking about the big 3/big 4 when Andy Murray was around. and how they changed what was normal, because any given tournament, any Masters 1000 that they played, any Grand Slam that that collection of players played, you always had a couple of them, maybe all of them, in the semifinals and or better or winning. And he was saying, I think post Big Three, you're going to see a big change where maybe people thought that was normal to see the top players always at the end of the tournaments, and it's not. Those 3/4 were abnormal. So
Yeah, we've kind of fallen into this trap of expecting Sinner and Alcaraz to be, those two guys or similar to those players you
yeah,
just mentioned, and that's a whole lot of pressure. And maybe they will be, who knows? But they've got a ways to go before they have that consistency. I mean, look at Djokovic. I know we're going to speak about how he just achieved the most number of Masters 1000 victories, and you've got him at the top, followed by Nadal and Federer in that count. But then there's a huge dip when you look at Andre Agassi, who I think is in fourth, and it just goes to show that those three were so abnormal, and we may never see that ever again,
yeah.
and that's okay too.
That is okay too. Yeah, to hit on that right now. Yeah, Novak Djokovic, who he really struggled at Indian Wells too. Obviously, I'll mention the Botic Van de Zand sculpt name again because he defeated Djokovic at Indian Wells. Novak with the turnaround here in Miami, a place he's played very well in the past, and with 2 wins now, 411 career Masters 1000 wins. And I think if you put that into perspective and maybe look at some strong top 10 players and how many career wins they get overall in their lifetime, you'd have an unbelievable career to get 400 wins on the ATP circuit. For him to have 411 just at Masters 1000s, I think kind of puts into perspective how extraordinary his tennis career has been.
And he's still going too. Who knows what he ends with by, the end of his career? Does he hit 500? And Nadal obviously then with 410, and Federer I think was in the high 380s.
Yeah.
And then there was that drop to Agassi, who I think had like, was it high 100s or low 200s? Like, it was a noticeable gap. And it also made me realize the importance of the Masters 1000 events has really, that's something new in the last 15 to 20 years. Because when we were kids, or certainly when I was a kid in the 80s and 90s, the top guys and the top women would often skip those tournaments. They weren't mandated to play them.
Hmm.
Maybe the prize money wasn't as much either as what it is now, or the ranking points weren't quite as substantial. But, guys like Agassi and Sampras, Becker, Edberg, whoever, they didn't play them with the same drive that Federer and Nadal and Djokovic have played them. I think if they had, we'd see more wins there. I mean, look at even Jimmy Connors, who still holds the most number of ATP titles at 109, I believe. I don't know how many of those were Masters 1000. Maybe there weren't as many either back in the day
Yeah.
with whatever they were called at that stage of the game as well. So that's something new. I think good marketing by the ATP to prioritize these tournaments, to make them feel like mini Grand Slams, to prolong the draws to 2-week tournaments like in Indian Wells, Miami, and similar to what we'll have in Toronto and Montreal this summer as well. So good marketing ploy. I think that's work the players have bought in. But it skewers the stats a little. It is hard to compare it to the previous generation who didn't have as much motivation to be there.
Yeah. Yeah, it certainly is. We talk about this tough turnaround, and Indian Wells, all four semifinalists. Jack Draper, I mentioned, who won. Holger Rune, Daniil Medvedev, Carlos Alcaraz, all out. Is it too tough these days to play back-to-back tournaments right away after a deep run?
Well, I mean, I have trouble playing back-to-back days of any sport, so I can only imagine what it's like for
Yeah.
these guys to go 4 weeks of grueling. Look at the blisters. I mean, Amanda Anisimova was showing off a blister on her hand yesterday
Yes.
on Instagram, and it's like, yeah, there's battle scars that these players are accumulating for sure. So to go out there and keep it at that level, and also, you and I have talked so much about the depth on the women's field, but let's give the men some props too. I feel like the men's draws are getting more depth as well. It's getting tougher out there on any given day. You're not getting easy matches even in the early rounds of these tournaments. So, yeah, it is a real tough back to back. And I don't have the numbers or stats in front of me to see how many times in recent years we've had repeat champions or repeat finalists in the Sunshine Double, but it's not getting any easier, that's for sure, to do it.
No, it's not. Ben Shelton losing as well. Felix Auger-Aliassime, I felt like this was a big opportunity given the top players who did fall with Medvedev, Alcaraz, Draper, all these guys losing. He goes out to Lorenzo Musetti in 3 sets. He seemed to be having some kind of thumb issue. 51 unforced errors in this match, and he lost in 3 sets after winning the first 6-4. We talked about, okay, he's doing the right things, playing the right way at ATP 250s and ATP 500s. And now we look at the Sunshine Double. This is going to be a really disappointing stretch of 2 tournaments for him.
It is, and there's no more hard courts until the summer swing, basically, when the North American hard court swing starts up again. So it's going to be a surface transition, and similar to what you were saying about Alcaraz. But for anyone who goes out early here, you can bet they're breaking out those clay court shoes and getting ready to attack a whole new surface and hope for the best. And while Felix is by no stretch a clay court specialist, I'd say of our Canadians, he's probably the most comfortable on the men's side on clay. So hopefully that can click for him. But it is disappointing when you've got these 2 tournaments and you don't have that deep run to show for it. That all signs were pointing towards that being a very real and distinct possibility for him, the way he was playing. And yet again, it's unable to quite make that happen for some reason.
Yeah, and Denis Shapovalov, as we have this conversation, he's getting set to face American Taylor Fritz. Tough match, but I think an opportunity. And again, like I was looking at the volatility of the ATP and mentioning some of the names who are losing early and thinking like, why not a Canadian? Why can't one of these guys make a deep run? So we'll see if Dennis can get past Taylor Fritz. Gabriel Diallo lost to Arthur Fies, but now feels like a bigger chance than ever with Alcaraz out, Jannik Sinner's off the tour for someone else to really make noise.
Yeah, I'd love to see some surprise semifinalists and finalists as the draw works its way through. I mean, look, we spoke about Gael Monfils. He's still up there, which is
Yeah.
super. He's been playing terrific this year. I mean, some of these guys might never retire the way that they're going, right? And I wonder just how far athletes are going to be able to push it. Like already in the last 10 years, we're seeing Federer make it to just past 40, and Nadal getting close, Djokovic still going. Whereas when we were younger, that just was not really happening, except for the odd, like, well, Jimmy Connors, who seemed to hang around forever. But I wonder what it'll be like in 15, 20, 25 years. Are we going to see guys playing until, trying to stretch it to 50 with the way that sports medicine and diet and things like that and equipment changes as well? Are we going to see athletes last even longer, or will the young guns come around and we'll have a swing? I mean, look at Mira Andreeva as we're about to switch over and talk about the women's tour, and have a resurgence like we did back in the 90s of the Martina Hingis, Anna Kurnikova. There were a whole bunch of young players they were doing it back then. It's interesting to see the ebbs and flows and how age plays into it. But I don't know. I'm turning 45 this summer, and I'm actually feeling pretty good. So
I'm good. That's good. I'm glad.
Right, if I can say that, then who knows? Maybe Gael Monfils will go for another 5, 6, 7 years.
Thank you guys so much for watching us at Matchpoint Canada. If you like our work, follow along, hit the subscribe button below.